Good evening. It is Tuesday, the 11th of July, 2023, and it is just coming up to 8:30 p.m. This is part of my journey, episode 33. I still can't quite believe how many of these I've done. You know, we're getting close to the 45, but 33 episodes, and there's been somewhere there's been more than one guest. So there's probably close to 40 odd guests who've been on this show. And it's my mental health talk show. It's one that was inspired by Double P reaching out and telling me about his depression. And then we did a show, had lots of amazing guests, all of whom have been very open and honest and frank about their lives, their issues, what they've gone through. And each time I'm amazed at, the conversations that we have. Today, I've got my very special guest, Ed Bond 007 Inch. We've known each other for a little time. Quite a big thing happened in his life in relation to his dad. So he sort of reached out, and then I sort of, spoke to him about that. And then I suggested he might want to watch the show that we did with Funky Flavors, who'd lost his dad a couple of days before the show. And he watched it, and he said it was helpful. And as I always say, if it helps one person, it's worth doing. So I thought we'd get him on the show. But in addition, for 45 Day 2022, he did a mix dedicated to his late father, and it's an amazing, uplifting mix. And so I thought it'd be great to talk about that. And this will then end up as part of a podcast where you'll be able to listen to that mix. It's already on his Mixcloud, but I think it's going to be a great show. So without further ado, here is Ed. How you doing?
Hello, everyone. I'm really good. Thanks for having me on.
You're really very welcome.
Chatting tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to say hello to Barty Cuts quickly. Thanks, Barty Cuts. Yes, it was a great set. That was a slow-mo Monday set I did for them. But yeah, so I mean, this has been it's weird. I think we've been working on getting you on the show for a little bit, and then I thought it was going to be much later, and then whatever was happening today didn't happen. So I was like, "Oh, are you free this week? Should we do the show?" And you're like, "Yes."
Most definitely free.
It's been good. So, like with all my guests, I always take them right back to the beginning because I'm always really interested in how we get this musical passion and at what sort of age. Just before the show, I was going through and sort of clearing that computer, and it's got a load of videos from OG 45ers, which is how I started playing 45s with Adrian, Big 404. He's been on the show as well. And then there was a little video where we did a set in a garden of a pub here. And then we're DJ, and then I suddenly see this little video clip, and like you've got Zizi sort of like there at like 3 years old, just sort of doing the platter,
playing away.
And it's interesting having spoken to her, the memories she has as a child from music. So that's why it really interests me to see what you can remember from when you were a child and the first sort of elements of music coming into your life.
There was just music everywhere. I think we were really lucky. There was music at the chapel we used to go to. My aunt played the organ. There was a brass band. Bristol had its own coalfield, which is kind of a very little and rarely known bit of Bristol history. It had its own colliery. So there's a little bit of Bristol history that is like brassed off, or the Welsh valleys.
I did not know that. Yeah, I've lived in Bristol. I didn't know that.
So out in just past St George and through Easton was the Gloucester coalfield, and they said that it was like a collier's mission, where the chapel we grew up in. So that was that. There was music there. There was music. Mum and Dad did drama, so they did old time musicals and pantomimes and stuff like that. So there was just always music around. Cousins played in the brass band. I kind of did what I normally do, which is be an awkward so-and-so, and didn't want to play a brass instrument. I wanted to play the saxophone. So, but it's once I got old enough to do that, that's what I did. And then
I've seen photos of you, and I think video clips of like a brass band, and you're part of that, aren't you?
I think. Yeah. So I played in jazz bands since I was about 13.
Wow.
With old, and when I say, and so they were youth bands at the beginning, but I was quite often the only youth in them.
And that's an interesting point, because I think our friend's son plays, I think it's the trumpet, and he must be about that age. No, not quite, maybe 10, 11. And he's like the only younger child. Now, is that because children don't really take to the instrument, or it's not taught enough, it's not pushed enough?
Well, there's a whole issue there about state school music education, which is in the doldrums. There's a really interesting article in the Guardian yesterday about it. It's a tragedy. I was really lucky. I played in bands all through school. School knew where to send me, so I could play in other bands. When I went to university, I went to Portsmouth. It was very much a state school university, I suppose. They had their own jazz band ready set up, which was oversubscribed. Right. I still play in that band.
Wow.
because there's not enough people come being able to play instruments. My music's
quite sad, isn't it? Really,
really sad.
I'd love
to be able to leave, not because I don't want to play with them. It's a real privilege to play with 18, 19, 20-year-olds. But I wish there were guys there who could take my place. But I love being able to kind of give a bit back to the people did that for me when I was young and when I was their age. There was always bands that I could play in, and so my musical knowledge and the songs I know and recognise, I can now go and sit in with most bands and play along. I'll know the charts, or I'll know the music, or have a passing reference to it. These guys come up and sadly they don't know. They've not had the experience. It's not been offered to them. We're having to teach every year. What I think of as standards. So it's been a privilege to kind of have the musical experiences I've had, I think.
I mean, I guess the problem is that if we don't nurture it and don't encourage it, it will just sort of disappear, won't it? Eventually,
people can't play instruments. You won't have. How can you love music if you don't play it? If you don't have access to it, you don't have access to it. It's really sad, and it's just about money. Schools are sadly prioritizing other things, and they have to. Money is everywhere, and it's music education is expensive. Instruments are expensive. It's a real. There's not.
It's quite sad, isn't it? Because the arts effectively is taking the knock for everything else that's going on.
I don't think I'd be able to come and come late in life, I suppose, not late in life, but in my mid-40s, to start buying records and start playing them for other people. You wouldn't be able to do that if you hadn't, if you didn't have a wide breadth of experience of different songs and different musical styles and stuff. And I think it's a real shame. I really feel for the guys at college for not having, because they haven't had it.
I know. Well, thankfully you did have it. So 13, you're playing in a band. Are you buying records at this time? Are you into records, or does that come a bit later?
Later. I did start. I did buy records. I don't think I was a very confident young man. I definitely wasn't. And to have the confidence of going into record shops and buying the stuff that you like when it's not necessarily what other people are hearing. It took a long time for me to just go, well, that's what I want to listen to, and that's what I'll buy, and that's what I'll play.
So hold on, that's so what you felt a bit of like embarrassment that you wanted to play music that wasn't.
If you're not,
is it the music that wasn't, say, the chart music or the
definitely, it was
anything that wasn't popular?
If you weren't listening to what to chart stuff, it was hard to know the record shops to go and buy it in. Now it doesn't matter. I can go and buy what I want, and as I've got back into buying records and stuff, it's very easy to find the stuff I want to listen to and what hopefully other people will listen to. But I think as a young man, it was a bit like, I'm not sure if this is. Am I a bit odd for liking the kind of stuff I like? It's a little bit older than I am. It takes a brave soul to kind of say, to put your head above the parapet when you're a teenager isn't easy, is it?
No.
And when you're an adult sometimes as well,
exactly. I don't think it ever goes away. There's always part of you that wants to get head above the parapet, and then there's another part of you that says sort of no, isn't there? There's sort of this balancing act.
Well, this is so lovely. It is, lots of your guests say it, and I hear it all the time when I listen to your shows and stuff. Is that it's that welcoming, accepting vibe and feeling. Actually, it's like this. This is what I like. This is what I like to play. Thanks for listening, and you don't find anybody naysaying it. It's a lovely experience.
Yeah, and it's one of the beauties of Twitch and what we do, because I was talking to someone at the weekend about this. There has been a tiny bit of negativity in terms of Twitch, things like hate raids. Hasn't really impacted on us because we're not the sort of target for it. And then some bots and things like that. But other than that, 99% of the time, Twitch is positive. There's people there because they want to hang out. There's people there who could go in, especially now. There's so many channels on Twitch, you know, that they could be 50 channels that 50 people DJ at the same time that they want to see. But the fact that they spend time with you makes you feel welcoming, which then makes you want to give the sort of love back, and get people involved and say, right, look, this is really good. I really enjoy DJing on Twitch. Why don't you do it? Why don't you get involved? You know, come to an event, come and DJ here. You know, it's brilliant, sort of inspiring all these people to get to that and being able to share what we're doing.
Yeah. And one of the things about sharing what you do is that when as a young man, it was quite, again, it's saying about the music you like, also sharing the fact that you play an instrument it wasn't necessarily the easiest thing to do. And one of the big stories about my dad was the first. Well, he had found a few bands and stuff for me to go and play in, and they weren't a great fit. And then he found out about this jazz band. He didn't tell me he was going to take me along. I just remember he rocked up. He picked me up one Monday night from my saxophone lesson. I was like, hang on, this is a bit odd. My mum normally picks me up from saxophone lesson. And he drove me to this place, and I was like, oh, I know where he's taking us. I knew about it, but I was like, I'm not going in, Dad. He said, there's no way I'm going in. They're all much older than me. They're going to be much better. He looked across on the driver's seat and he said, well, he said, you've got a choice here. He says, you can walk in or I'm going to carry you in. And he said, I wish it'd be more embarrassing. I was like, oh, okay. You know what? You probably will as well. So
how old were you then? How old were you then?
13. Yeah, 12, 13, something 12, like that.
Okay, yeah.
You could have tried.
So quite daunting, yeah. For that sort of age, it's quite a daunting situation.
But from doing that, you know, a lifelong love of playing, a lifelong love of music, and a life of opportunity. I think I said on one of these before. I think I stuck it in a comment about if you play music, whatever its form, it's true of instruments and records. Is what I've learned is that you won't be friendless. You'll always have people who want to spend time with you. You'll always have an opportunity to meet people, and he was 100% right in that. Because that's what I found this second time round, is, you know, picking up effectively a new instrument.
I mean, effectively we're playing a format, but ultimately we're playing a turntable, aren't we? Really?
Yeah. If you think of it as an instrument, which I try to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely using it because I'm sort of getting into a little bit of scratching and sort of echo stuff and stuff. I'm definitely using it as an instrument, or trying to add something to music. And even today, like Zizi, we're watching. Do you know I Am DJ Michelle? Have you seen her on Instagram?
No, I don't think
she's
so.
I think she's.
I will do now.
10 or 11, and she's like DJ. She's a world famous DJ. She's written a book about being a DJ, and she's about 11, and she's playing some big arenas and stuff. Brilliant. Just what it shows on Instagram. But then Zizi was like, "Oh, I'd quite like to learn some scratching." So I was like, "Okay, well, there you go. We will bond over scratching, learning how to scratch records." So it's great again that your dad was sort of really there for you in terms of the music and seeing how important music was.
Yeah, I think he really. They really knew. Both mum and dad, and I think the dad maybe a little bit more. He knew its value in terms of the productions he put on, and the way it brings people together. So there was always support there. You know, from scrimping and saving for buying an instrument, to picking us up and taking us to gig. My brother played drums, and it was the same for him. You know, to taking us to gigs, making sure we could go to rehearsals, you know, and it's sacrificing holidays so we could do shows and stuff like that. Yeah, they were unbelievably supportive.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you say, because as you're talking about sort of music meaning you're not friendless, I've just spent the weekend up at T2 Funk's house in Chester, and he organised a gig on the Friday night. We played that beer place in Chester, and there was myself, T2 Funk, DJ Deviant, and Funk Dub, and it was just great bringing people together. And just for one night, we had some people dancing. It wasn't like crazy busy, but it was bringing a little community together for one night. And then we did the same thing again on Saturday, Manchester. And that's what I love about music, because it definitely does bring people together.
Yeah, it puts you in the same physical space, but it can also put you in the same mental space. And that's regardless of what kind of music you like and enjoy. It's a unifying and community building phenomenon, really, because it's just sound.
Yeah,
and yet it can link you to a time and place, and to a person, and to a million memories. It's profound, the power it has.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's I sometimes play Sunny by James Brown, which was my first dance with my wife, and it's amazing. As soon as I put that on, I've got my headphones on, it just transports me right back to like our wedding and thing. And it's amazing that listening to a record can do that. Now, your name is Ed Bond 007 inch. So obviously you play 45s, 7s. Yes. Have you always played them, or is it a sort of bug that's got you more recently?
It's really modern. It's really new for me.
Yeah.
I'd kind of given up buying physical music years ago. I'd kind of, as CDs went out and digital came in, it was done. I'd kind of bought everything I was willing to buy. I could get everything else I wanted, seemingly for at the click of a button, and that was it. And then Lisa and I bought a record player, and started to buy bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So we would just one record player, and just gigs we went to, things that records we saw when we were out. I've always had a bit of a collecting bug, be it books or games or something, and it was just okay. Well, that it can be this now.
Well, that's interesting, because one of the questions I ask on my 7 Questions podcast, good evening, this Twitch Witch Saps, is, other than records, do you collect anything else? So, do you collect anything else now, or is it
not really?
Through
I'm shocking bad for things, but I'm quite good at partitioning it. So it has been books, it has been now it's records now, and it's great. It's great that it is. I look, not necessarily great for everybody else. Great for me that it is. I love the hunting. I love the going out and looking for things.
Yeah.
But it's very modern. I think, slightly going a slightly different direction. One of the things, and kind of preempt anything we talk about mental health wise, is that one of the things that I've found for me is that I struggle most if I'm not playing, but also if I've been low, I don't always feel I can play. Now, which way round that is, I don't know. It's probably both way rounds, to be honest. It's probably if I'm not out playing music, that isn't very good for me. If I'm not feeling great, I find it hard to play. So there's a bit of a vicious loop in that. Now, Lisa isn't well aware of this, and of course lockdown happened, and there was no opportunity to rehearse. There's no opportunity for gigs.
Yeah,
I've gone out on a Monday and done a big band rehearsal for the best part of 30 years, and then couldn't do it. And I think one of the most amazing things Lisa has done, she said, well, let's get a second turntable, and let's get a match and a mixer, and you can do playing at home. And and then that suddenly opened during lockdown the chance to play around with music in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And you guys, I love it. You guys always talk about lockdown as being the time you started DJing on Twitch, and so this was your moment to kind of get to know each other that way. For me, it was the complete beginning of my journey into this, and so it's and the support I've had since then has been so lovely. Yourself, Mark James, who's Soul 45 in Southampton. Has had me over. We had him at a festival I put on here.
Okay.
Over, and we met them then, and then so that he was a big inspiration about the format and how lovely that could be. And he's been very encouraging and getting me over to Overdraft and stuff. So I've gone off on a tangent. So that
you're saying that effectively, I think
that's how I got into the kind of buying and collecting very recently. And then once you're doing that, you want to be playing it. If you're going to buy music and you've got an opportunity to share it with people,
and I think it's also the format, isn't it? Because if you were playing an album. Yes, there is some streams that just play a whole album, but if you're playing a record, a 45, at the end of that, you want to play another one.
Yeah.
So whether you just get up and then do it, it's always, I think, going to lead you. If you start collecting 45, it's always going to lead you into DJing because it's just natural. Because it's one record, another.
You're there, you're putting something new on, finding a new,
and it's very basic level. That's it, isn't it? One record.
Yeah, and then another one. So and it keeps you busy.
Well, it really does. It really does because it's interesting. Manchester was a little bit of a washout because it rained and the venue had to shut down. So we ended up at Air Adams' house doing a stream. And Yvette Mischievous, who's been on the show before and doing the Cambridge stuff, had tried to stream a couple of times. There'd been tech issues and she couldn't. So then we were there where she could actually stream, and she did her very first Twitch stream. And it was funny because she was playing the record and then she's talking to us on that. And we're like, right, get the next record ready. She's like, oh, it's fine. No, get the next record ready because it's only 3 minutes long. And then you get the next record ready. She's like, oh, it's really difficult DJing with 45, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it is. It's not the easiest thing, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, a little bit of thought and lots of fun and never boring. It's just like, is it going to be that way? It's going to be that. What am I looking for? Just.
And I love that you can just go in any direction with it. I'm quite eclectic. I know you are as well. Because you're playing 45 and you're not trying to build
if you can't be daft every now and again, or play something more serious, or actually it's going to be 3 minutes long. Just bear with me, and it will probably be what you like in a minute. This is just something I like now. It's not just for you guys. It's also a little bit for me.
Yeah. And again, it lets you experiment with what you buy. So I've got a whole box here. It's getting bigger now, which is like TV, film, soundtracks and things like that. And then today I got some as well. But it makes you collect things, and it makes you collect types of music because 45s allow you to do that. Like, I don't think if I was just DJing digital, I would be going out and buying like TV themes and dropping
albums of TV themes are shocking bad, but the other you can always find them, but they are woeful.
The odd one here and there is
war movie themes is a classic of every charity shop.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so that was about the time that you sort of started collecting. So we're talking sort of about the 2020, isn't it? March 2020 is about when we're doing. Okay, so you're starting to collect that. From what you're saying, I assume you couldn't then go out to play in a band because of obviously lockdown and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
As far as your mental health at that stage, how did you deal with not being able to express yourself in terms of playing music?
I think we were luckier than many because we're both teachers. We were working all the time, so lockdown for us was a lot easier.
You guys worked harder than probably before.
We were working. Not every, Lisa was in every day of the week. I was probably in 3.5 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, missing playing is really hard. It's so cooperative. It's so all engrossing for those. If you're rehearsing for a couple of hours, if you've got a gig for 2 or 3 hours, you can't think about anything else. reading music is a challenge if you're somewhere new, playing stuff that you've played before. You're trying to get better at it. So to not have that, and to not have that, release is the wrong word, but it's big distraction from everything else you do. You can't go to rehearsal or gig and be thinking about other things because you don't play well. You can't do a DJ set and have your mind completely on something else, because you won't do as well as you want to do, and all these things we all want to do as best we can all the time. So it was a big relief to have that amount of music in my life, and an increasing amount of music to be looking. Kleiner Fox 75 is my dear friend Steve in Hamburg, who I've badgered to watch in tonight, because
he's here.
He will be giving me lots of honest truth, as he always does.
Yeah.
Bless him. Oh, thank you, Steve. Yeah. So it was more than essential. I how hard it would have been to get through without that.
Well, that's what I sort of sometimes think. If we hadn't got onto Twitch, if we weren't DJing to each other, I think there'd be like a group, the 45 Kings group, like it is now, where people say, "Oh, look at this 45, look at this," but it's almost like small talk, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the difference between, at least I don't mean this in any way badly to anyone. It's a bit. Is it like swapping stickers in a playground and saying, "I've got need," or is it?
Yes, is
it like playing in a football team? I say that having never played in a football team, but having played in a band, you don't get band stickers, thankfully, because I'd have collected them all.
Yeah. I think there is an element of that, definitely. And especially sometimes when you're listening to a record, and I think it's called doing a Butchie. When we were on watching Twitch constantly, Butchie B would come in and he'd be like, "Oh, what's this record? What's this record?" And then the DJ would be like, "Oh, it's this one." And he'd be like, "Oh, that's good. I've got it already." So I think it's a little bit like that,
The swap element would be good, wouldn't it? Because the inevitable doubles that you just like, I haven't got.
You say that. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that this weekend in Manchester because we forgot. The reason being, we got to the venue, it had been pissing it down. We did the first little set. Scotty Boy played his set. It carried on pissing it down. Then they're mopping it all up. We're like, this isn't looking good. And then about an hour into the thing, they're like, we've got to shut it down. We're worried about the electrics. We're worried about people tripping up on this water. Yeah. And we were supposed to do Secret 45, which is the thing I came up with when we went to Edinburgh. I basically said to every DJ there, right, bring a 45, stick it in a mailer, maximum value 10 quid, and then we all do a swap there.
Nice.
So it's swapping stickers, but we're not swapping records.
Yeah, I only want the shiny ones. It's fine.
I know, but it's funny. And I guess it's that element of taking you back to your childhood.
Yeah, it's unashamedly childlike, this.
Yeah.
As well as, but this isn't, because this is, you've got to be quite an old to have open conversations like this. It's taken a lifetime to be able to do this. But the showing off slight element and the swapping and the collecting is wonderfully childlike and healthy for it, because we should all be more childlike when we can be.
Well, talking of childlike, we have Double P.
As if by
magic. Double P walks in when we're talking about childhood stuff and having a laugh. So obviously Double P inspired this show, telling me about a message from his son, James, who basically said, "Thank you, Criztoz and Fat Wax, for helping my dad through depression because of getting into streaming and that." And he's someone now that I know I can make laugh by just dropping the Manumana record from the Muppets, as does my daughter. She loves playing it up and fast, and it's great having that bond and that particular song that I know he's going to be laughing at the other end of the stream. So again, it comes back to the power of music, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, it's just wonderfully powerful. You can have and the memories that come from it. It doesn't have to be a particular song. It can be your man Steve, who's watching there somewhere. He came to a gig I did years ago. We did it was one of the D-Day celebration, D-Day or something like that celebrations in Portsmouth, and they had booked us on an open top bus tour, and we toured all the way around Portsmouth for a whole day.
Okay. Put
us in uniform, like gangly youths in ill-fitting, itchy clothes in the middle of June, but doing all all their wartime Glenn Miller stuff on the top of the bus. And we came back and they put us in the Guildhall Square, which is like the big square in Portsmouth. And I could see him. There was about 5,000 people, and that's not an exaggeration. It was rammed. I never played to more before, and I never will play to any kind of number like that ever again. It was a unique one-off for me.
Amazing.
And I just remember him standing there, and just that lovely day of like of music and friendship, and hopefully most people have got a memory like that of a festival or a concert or
definitely,
or a song in the car or something like that. And I'm lucky to have it with different songs with lots of different different members of that, with lots of different people, just because of the opportunities I've had out to be not a player, to be somebody. Saxophone owner, I think, is more the most accurate description of my skill level.
But it's always a pleasure, isn't it, that people trust us enough to play music or DJ or whatever. And I always feel a real privilege. Any venue that said, "Yeah, come and play some records," I always feel privileged at it. However many people are there, it could be like a big festival, it could be something, just like the people who you got DJing. We're lucky that we can do that because it brings us pleasure, but it also other people.
Being trust to a he wishes. Maybe.
No, Foxer. He only snogged Ed because of his uniform.
Yeah.
No comment.
It was ill-fitting at all times. Where were we? Before that, completely.
I was just saying about how it's a privilege that we get to play music.
Oh,
especially music that we love. You're not sort of doing it just because you want to get a dance floor going. When you can play records that you love and you just think that'll get that person in a good mood, that's what I love.
Well, it's massive trust, isn't it? If somebody invites you to play, at their wedding or their party or their festival or something, and they're not dictating to you they couldn't dictate to, because I'd be like, well, I have any of that. So you're totally asking the wrong person. So, but they're asking you to come and play music that you like to them and their friends, or to them and their guests or their clientele. It's massively trusting, and it's a big compliment that they think actually, your musical taste is worth my time and effort.
It's a trust thing as well, isn't it? At the end of the day, you speak to them, you say, look, this is what I play, be really professional, and then they're putting their trust in you to deliver. And you're not going to turn up and play like 30 minutes of the Birdie song. You are going to actually play something.
Which version?
Yeah.
Would it be this is a constant dilemma at home, big debate, whether it's the Tweets the Tweets version or the Black Lace. For me, there's only one version, but I wouldn't like to prejudice anyone's answer.
The Tweets, but there is like a cover version that I've got
the Agadoo people. Yeah.
No. This is from there's a label called Batov Records, and they have a lot of sort of like Middle Eastern beats and things like that, and they do a cover of the Birdie song.
Well, that might actually be quite good.
I'm undecided. I'm undecided, but I love that we can have these conversations and just enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment, isn't it? Really,
every version of it, would you? Because people would leave, and they'd be right to leave.
Yeah. But coming back to the reason how we all got onto this, people trust you. They know what you do, or they've seen what you do, and they trust you as a person to know what's right for the venue or whatever, and bring the right vibe. It's about bringing the right vibe. The particular songs, I think, but it's making people feel comfortable, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm that's something I'm learning a bit of, I have to say, in the not the massive amount of gigs I've done. Is it you have that's a skill that you learn quite quickly.
Yeah.
I think I look, I was more likely to have Chaz and Dave than Chase and Status in my box at one thing I did, and that wasn't necessarily right, but it was fine in the end.
We got a couple of comments. We got this Twitch Witch Slaps is reminding me that the band I'm talking about is Sababa 5. They're the ones who do that cover. And Double P said, Sam told me, Sam Tweaks, if I played the Birdie song in the Celtic Manor, I would be sacked. Celtic Manor is a very posh sort of cocktail bar at a golf course, like a big golf course, and that Sam plays at, and Double P went down there.
But I think it's fair enough. If you do, I think sacking for playing the Birdie song doesn't seem overly harsh to me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Let's move on a little bit. This is obviously part of my journey, and we talk about mental health. We've touched on a few things. I think the first time we sort of reached out particularly about these sort of points is you were very open again and honest and told me about your father sadly passing, and I was like, sorry to hear that. You don't have to, but you might find it helpful to watch this show that I've just done with Funky Flavors, because Lee came on the show I think 2 days after his dad died, and that was quite an emotional show. And you went away and watched it, and you said it was helpful, and then obviously we carried on the conversation to sort of get to where we are today. Where I don't know, where do you want to start in terms of your dad? Was he ill before?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't ill before. He went in. He wasn't the fittest of men, but by any stretch of the imagination. He had gone into hospital to have a stent put in, which is a fairly routine thing for men of his age. And he had a stroke in the hospital that day, and that was Monday afternoon, and he died on the Wednesday.
Oh, jeez.
So it was super quick and super surprising, mercifully quick, I think, in the long term, but no easier to kind of bear or cope with or deal with for that. I remember sitting in the waiting room, and I just thought, oh God, February. This is just, what are we going to do? And I sent you a message then saying, is there going to be a 45-day this year? Because I wanted something to think about. Yeah. And you were like, yeah, I haven't sent anything stuff about it, but there will be one. Because you had out of the blue, you had messaged me the year before and asked me to do one, which again was just like so encouraging and lovely. And I had no idea what I was doing, but it was great to do. And so that it's kind of focused my mind a little bit that in those kind of weeks afterwards.
Wow.
I went back and listened to that one from 2022 this week, because I couldn't for the life of me remember what was on it. And interestingly enough, it was all instrumentals.
Wow. Okay.
Couldn't have coped with any words that were kind of going to be any kind of have any meaning to me. So it was all instrumentals, which is unusual for me, because I like an instrumental, but I like songs with the words in. Anyway, so scroll forward a little bit, and you suggested that this with
it was with Lee
and why it was powerful for me is that it was a different way of talking about what had happened. I think I'd been through a bunch of months of telling the story of how Dad died to people, and I was exhausted of that.
Yeah.
School and Lisa had put me in touch with some counselling, and that was the first time I was talking about it to somebody I didn't know, and it was just such a release to not have to tell it as a story, just to say how I was feeling, because you tell the story about how somebody passes, how somebody dies, and part of you tries to protect the person you're telling from how sad it is. That's particularly when you tell somebody who knows them a bit or who knows you, and you want people to know what's happened, but you don't always want to bring those people into actually how you're feeling.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's almost feels a little bit like you don't want to burden them with something as well, exactly, because you're like, and then there must have been this element of trying to put on a brave face so that people thought you're okay, maybe not sort of.
Yeah, because it's like it becomes a bit like reading the news. Reading the news a little bit.
Yeah.
You just exactly what you talked about on that show. I can't remember, but I remember just thinking at the time, there's a different way to talk about this. There's a different way of being, and through the counselling that I had then, and through talking about it in a different way, and realizing that there's other ways you can think about this stuff. You slowly begin, and it is only a beginning to kind of to process it different, to start to deal with it, and to start your grieving in a different way.
Yeah,
so
and
it was really powerful at the time. I remember listening to it in bed and just watching it and saying afterwards, I'm going to need to watch more of these. Need to kind of have these discussions myself.
I mean, it's for me, it's been amazing that people come on the show and talk about things. I mean, that particular show, as I said, I think sadly Lee's dad died on the Saturday or the Sunday, and then the show was like on the Monday, so it's like literally a day or two. And I was like, right, what do you want to do? Happy to postpone, of course, it's not a problem. And it's like, no, let's do it. Let's do it. It'll be good to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it for me, it was like, okay, that's amazing, because you trust me. Again, it's come back to trust. He trusted me enough to come on the show and that we'd have a conversation, just like you've trusted me, to have this conversation. So yeah, it's interesting that you're saying that you used music and then the sort of 45s. That sort of moved on a little bit this year, didn't it? Because you did a very specific mix for your fat. So tell the story behind that.
Well, I didn't want to lose the thoughts I had about certain songs and certain styles of music and him. And I think that would be very easy if I hadn't had this medium to use. It'd have been like, well, if I might have heard a song in a few years' time and go, oh, that reminds me a bit of Dad. But while it was all still very fresh memories, and links as much as anything, it was like, and here's an opportunity to pin them down in a form that, if I don't delete it, will hang around forever. And so I spent, I don't know, probably 6 months thinking about it. Once the second one was done, once 22 was finished, and the thought was in my mind, for about 6 months I was racking my brains for songs that I could put in, tunes that I could use, links that I might want to find, looking for Daft records as well. You talk about your movie and TV themes box. I've got one. I've got a silly songs box as well, just because it might, they might come in handy. They just make me smile.
It's that, isn't it? They make you smile, and that it's a nice release, isn't it? Because it's a funny song, and for that 3 minutes or whatever.
So I just had the opportunity to start pulling it together, and it is entirely personal. I mean, if my brother was here, he'd probably go, "Oh, that means the things when we talk them through in a minute." He'd probably say, "Well, I can't remember any of those things. What are you talking about?" I think it's, Mum would probably be the same, and I think other people who'd listen to it have gone, "Yeah, that's really lovely, Ed," and then it's like, "Really, that song reminds you of your dad?"
But again, it's a personal thing.
You can be honest with yourself, can't you?
It's a personal thing, and I hope whenever I'm gone, that when Zizi will want to think about it, she'll play things like Phenomena, because that's a song that we played together, or that reminds her of me. But so you spent about 6 months trying to find the record.
I didn't want to.
I think you bought, didn't you buy? You're waiting to buy one, I think, specifically for it.
There was a couple of ones it took me a while to find.
Yeah.
A couple of versions, a couple of songs I knew I wanted, but I didn't know which version I wanted. And then just gradually it was just like, and then obviously I'd vastly probably overbought what I needed, of course, and then had to colour load, and
that's what
I was really pleased with it. I mean, it is daft, and
but that's why it's 45 minutes, because an hour's quite an hour's quite a long time, but 45 minutes, it means that you've got your hour set that you've culled by 15 minutes, so it's all killer.
Yeah.
You know, there's very little filler. I've listened to however many 500 mixes over the last few years, and there's very little filler in any of these mixes, which is
people have kept
what I
in
love
what they really want to keep in, and I you know, I think I've kept in the stuff that reminds me. I listened to it tonight before we started chatting, just for that. I was just like, was I right in all those choices? I think a couple weren't. The title's better than the
right.
The thought's better than the song, maybe, but yeah, most of it I'm super pleased.
That's still part of it, isn't it? That lyrics or the name of a song or whatever, you know, that's still part of music, isn't it?
Yeah, and I couldn't, you know, you still can't get all the things you want. So the first one, the song for my father, I didn't just want that for the title. We used to play song for my father for years at band. It's an old jazz standard, and Horace Silver, I think, and I couldn't get that. It's available on 45, but I couldn't get it imported from America.
Right.
I couldn't quite legitimize the price.
Yeah.
But the version that's on there is equally good, because that's the kind of stuff we used to listen to when we were growing up in Bristol and stuff. Lots of that kind of music when we were in our late teens. Do you know DJ Derek? Is that a name you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that kind of that when we used to go and listen to him in the Plough and stuff in Easton, that's the kind of stuff you'd listen to there. So that worked quite nicely. But yeah, that wasn't necessarily the version I would have started with. How I could have.
Yeah, and I mean, again, that's quite sad. You know, DJ Derek. You know, there was a CD mix that my friend had, and would always go around his, and I'd always be like, right, put that CD on, and whatever. And eventually, I bought it. But yeah, I never got to see him live, unfortunately, sadly. But again, that whole thing was quite sad, wasn't it? When he just sort of went into the woods and
just
didn't come back again. Really, you know,
maybe a bit confused, or you know, just elderly, wasn't it? Was a very elderly man, you know. He'd been old.
Yeah.
It was always a bit of this wonderful old guy who's standing, just like, where's that coming from? The first couple of times you see him.
Yeah. And there's a beautiful mural now, isn't there, in Bristol?
on the M32 roundabout.
Yeah, as you go out. Yeah, I saw that last time I was there.
Lovely.
Yeah, we were driving out.
It looks just like him as well. It's a cracking thing.
It's brilliant. And again, that someone who's, you know, just generally just played music, you know, played records.
He played the music he really loved.
Yeah. And eventually enough people,
everybody loved him. He always had friends. He was never until the tragedy of the end. And then, you know, but the love people had for him is shown by how long and how hard people looked for him.
And I guess in one sense, you know, as long as we can still generally stand up and can put a record on, there's no reason why we can't DJ and play records into like our people, you know, people already doing it. But, you know, I think most of the oldest of the sort of 45s community that sort of play with us are probably late 50s, probably 55 to 60. There's no reason why we can't be doing this in like another 10 years or another 20 years. So 70-year-olds sort of playing records to each other over, I don't know, it'll be like holographic or VR or something by then. But, you know,
I think there's this whole thing about you. People think when you get to 70, the only music you want to listen to is Vera Lynn and stuff. But that's because they associate old people with the war, even though, like, you know, 70-year-olds weren't even born anywhere near it. So the only way that's going to change is if people in their 70s keep playing the music they like. So unless you want to be cursed to listen to the 1940s till you die, sadly, you're going to have to do it yourself, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know what they do in sort of nursing homes now. I know my wife's done some dance stuff, as has one of her colleagues, but I don't know if they have people going in and say DJing or playing some records to them. I mean, it'd be pretty cool. Maybe something we should look into. But, you know, just go into a nursing home and just say, look, I've got these records, because a lot of the stuff we play is older, isn't it? You know, we're not playing all the upbeat stuff. So, you know, we play a lot of 70s funk, you know, like some 80s music and all of that. You know, it'd be really interesting to go in and play this music and see what effect it would have.
And there's still people, you know, there's plenty of people about who are DJing, you know, stuff from the 50s and the 60s and stuff. And actually, if you're 70 and 80, that's when you were a teenager, you know. But if you're lucky enough or unlucky enough, depending on your situation, to be to needing that kind of care. What a lovely thing to do for people to go in and take that music back to them.
And they've done it a little bit. My daughter's dance school rapper, they went in, I think, and did one of their little shows that they do for the sort of dance festivals to a nursing home, and it was just great. The interaction of that. It really intrigues me, this intergenerational interaction, especially around music. And as Twitch says, it's music therapy.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of the time I get that a lot more now. I love it because as soon as I start playing music, it does feel like therapy, and people coming in and talking to people and having conversations.
That's exactly what we're talking about, isn't it? How good it is for us and the people who buy into this group and this community. Or how good would it be for everybody?
Yeah.
That a life without the music you love would be really horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. But people are different. It's another interesting thing. We'll come back to the mix in a minute, but it's another interesting thing that I find, that there's a lot of people who like music, but they like sort of like covers bands and things like that. And it's interesting for me because I do like covers music, but I don't like covers bands. Like, I wouldn't just go to see one band do the same covers, but it's amazing how much people want to see these bands that are representations of these bigger artists.
Yeah. So almost the kind of impersonatory bands rather than.
Well, it's it's interesting. Sorry, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent. But my so I used to DJ on my own first, and then I joined up with a guy called Toby and Adrian, and we did the Jelly Funk All Stars, and then I went off and did OG 45s with Adrian, and then sort of did 45 Day. But Toby looks like Fatboy Slim, and he's always getting told, "Oh, you look like Fatboy Slim. Hey, Norman," all this sort of stuff. We were like, a few of us were like, "Yeah, you should do it. Do it as a bit of a joke or whatever." So he was like, no, I don't want to do it. So he's now become Fake Boy Slim, and he's doing some like festivals, and so I'm going to go and do some footage of him. But again, it's they want Fatboy Slim, but they want something slightly different, hence
slightly cheaper.
Yeah, well, much cheaper. Yeah, much cheaper, of course. But again, it's interesting, this concept of music, isn't it? That people love whatever, and then they'll accept a covers version because of that live element, I suppose.
I've not thought of it that way. To my mind, a covers bands more like like your local pub group playing all kinds of stuff. But yes, an outfit that is a complete pastiche, I don't quite get. But this is and you can, it's that popular that now there's the whole turning it into musicals, isn't there? So there's
and there's festivals.
You take the whole the whole back catalogue and turn it into a show, or ABBA doing it via hologram. And
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? But I mean, at least that's quite innovative. I haven't been to see it, but at least that sounds like it's like proper, proper future stuff. But it's interesting where you've even got just festivals that have just got covers bands, and it's like, our festival is covers bands. And you're like, okay, that's interesting, but
I don't.
Anyway,
I don't quite get it. Because it's an interest. I wasn't sure where you were going with that covers thing, because I was thinking about.
Maybe I didn't know either. I think I.
No. I was just thinking because it's quite a. I don't know. People look down their nose on cover versions of stuff, but actually, if you go back to the 60s and stuff, it was just what people did. So somebody would write a great song, and 5 or 6 acts would record it, and then may the most popular one win. It was a lot more usual than it is now. It's sometimes seen as less good. I think maybe we could, which is different to 5 people pretending to be a 5-piece band, but
exactly. Anyway, we did transgress a little bit, but it was some interesting stuff came out of that. So what other songs did you have on your mix?
So on that list, so there were a couple of Bond themes.
So tell me about that. What is he, a huge Bond fan, was he?
Well, because
Bond, obviously the name.
That's our surname. So you know, you just couldn't get away with it. If you spend your life being called every time you spell your name in, like you have to spell it, every time you say your name for a reservation or to buy a ticket or you know, go to the doctors, and it's like James Bond. Like, well, yes, obviously it's like 4 letters. It's really easy to spell. You know, you shouldn't need that bit. You know, and I think you grow up it being a bit of a point of fun. There comes a point where you reclaim it. So you know, so for that, I've reclaimed it for all of us. So there's a bit of the Bond theme in one of them. There's Diamonds Are Forever, which is by far away my favourite.
I love Live and Let Die.
That is really good. Yeah.
And I've got a really good reggae cover of that as well. So, and there's a Duffy cover.
Okay,
really not quite acoustic, but really sort of stripped back, slow version, which is good as well.
That's a lie when I just said Diamonds Are Forever is my favourite. My favourite's The Man with the Golden Gun, but I think I've used that before. So, is it the same, Steve? I'm not sure.
When it comes to covers, isn't it the same as actors putting their take on a famous role?
Put down, Steve. No, I'm not sure. Possibly.
No.
What else was in there? Hang on. I'm going to look it up because you've got my phone. Sorry, darling. There we go. What else was in there? So there was Desafinado. Stan Getz Desafinado was one of that rehearsal where he threatened he'd carry me in.
Right. Okay.
That was the second piece of music we rehearsed when I was 13 with that band. The
first piece, so that's cemented. That song cemented.
The first piece is a thing called Sudden Sam, which does not exist on any record anywhere. So we couldn't have that. So that's that was why it was that one. 1 second, give me a sec, and I will find. I can put the list up. That's not it. So, what else? Nothing Like a Dame. Then that's in there. That's his drama thing. Every Christmas, every opportunity, frankly, not just every Christmas, he would be dressed up, and every pantomime he would be Widow Twankey or an ugly sister, or Dame Trot in Jack and the Beanstalk. He loved it, and he was brilliant.
Because there's a picture of him, isn't there, on the
my mum made
the artwork.
Yeah, my mum made that costume. That's him as Widow Twank. He loved that role, and he was just great. He was brilliant, and there was nothing like a Dame. And he you know, that's if he had had a theme song, which he didn't. We talk about we haven't kind of touched on his musical influence. Musically, he had shocking bad taste in music. Love him. You know,
like what sort of stuff?
It's just woeful. Honestly, just
but like cheesy,
like corny stuff. Musical stuff, but like modern musical stuff. Also, just
right.
Like to love music is what I got from him. What kind of music? No. No. Just all random. You know,
but then I guess in a way, you know,
it doesn't matter, does it? It's just
a lot of people either have their parents who have a great record collection or great music collection, and they get that, and then the other half don't. So for me, my parents are from Cyprus. I don't really like Cypriot music that much, so I don't remember them playing any other sort of music, but I do remember just having in here the Grease soundtrack. I don't remember much other stuff, but it was just a real. I think again, like you, I got the sense of and the passion of music, but I didn't get the music from.
The love of it and the importance of it to my life has definitely come from them. What else was on there? So the I Got You by Etta James. So mum and dad's kind of
amazing
courtship song was I Got You, babe, but the Sonny and Cher version, I'm afraid I don't like it. So, and also, even if
I remember that though, I remember that quite vividly. Even if that was 80s, maybe
760s, probably. I don't know. Long time. Probably been released a bunch of times.
Yeah, maybe that's
really old Atlantic.
I mean, that's when I would be remembering it from. Probably
it's like Red Label Atlantic, the original press it. So it's really old. And I've got it, but I don't. And I don't think I'd have played it anyway. I wouldn't have wanted to have put it on without knowing that Mum would have wanted to hear it, you know. So
Right.
when we were away with the family, when I was pulling it together, and I'd never heard that Etta James version, and somebody put it on, and it's like, there, that one's going in.
Yeah.
Because I can have the song, and I love Etta James, so that's
and you've got a better version of it.
I felt like I had a better version.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Aretha Franklin things in there. You Made Me Love You and Rockabye Your Baby, and that's the kind of songs they would do in their all-time musical. So that's kind of American vaudeville and stuff, and those are standards that have been sung for, you know, probably a best part of 100 years by, there's your cover version thing, artist after artist after artist, and yet there's Aretha Franklin singing it with all her power and soul and passion. And but I can remember my mum and dad singing them on Kingswood Community Centre stage on a Friday night, you know. And
but that's amazing. So these are songs that they would perform as part of
they perform not like that, but in, you know, in a proper old school way with a piano and
right.
And then if you go looking for them, you can suddenly find these amazingly just joyous versions. And, you know,
again, it's amazing that handing down, is it? Like you're saying, these are like songs that were written like 100 years ago.
Yeah, I dread to think. So where, you know, Rockabye Your Baby, and You Made Me Love You is probably like 1890s or, you know, 1910s or something like that. It's really, really old songs that have been covered by, you know, the band leaders all through the 30s and the 40s, and Sinatra then in the 40s and the 50s, and then it's been then recovered again there in the 60s, because they're great songs with great melodies and powerful lyrics. So that's why those are in, because they gave me those songs.
But I love the power of that it's been written so long ago, it's been sung, recorded, and then here in 2023 you're playing a song that was written like 130 years ago. It's amazing, the power of music.
That's the continuity that comes through from.
And I guess it's similar in a way to books, I suppose. You know, books been written that long ago, and people are still reading that book now. So
and still passing them down to telling the same stories to, you know, that you were told as a kid that you'll tell to ZZ, and you know, the books that mum and dad read to me that I will have read to the girls, and then, you know, that they'll read to their children, hopefully, or grandchildren, or whoever. And the music has been the same. It's that, you know, it's that link to the past, that golden thread of memory and love and place and stuff that hopefully I've put in. And you play Mana Mana, and one of the ones I put in is there's the Muppet Show thing. He loved the Muppet Show. That's a really early memory of him for me, is what on a Saturday night the Muppets. And Don't Dilly Dally on the Way, the thing that Miss Piggy sings in there is a classic old time musical song that, again, you know, that kind of community singing that would have taken place. Oh, well, I don't know, me and Mark would probably, I'd have been 10 and he would have been 8 and stuff.
Yeah.
And we'd been up in the community centre with, you know, loads of folks that have, goodness knows how old. They'd have been singing the songs of their, you know, a bit like we've just said, people going into homes and providing music. Well, you know, that was what they did with those shows. They provided music of yesteryear. I hate that phrase. Older music for an older generation who weren't getting the music they loved anywhere else. And then those songs have kind of, talk about earworms. You can't get rid of them.
It's like the okay. I'm going to come back to the Muppet Show. Japan, the Muppet Show is an absolute influence as well. It's a great one, and you mentioned that, but ZZ has got a copy. I bought her a copy of the Muppet Show as well, because they came back. She does musical theatre on a Friday called Trapdoor, and she came back, and I was like, "What are you doing this week?" And she's like, "Oh, we're doing the Muppet Show." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "We're doing the theme tune for the Muppet Show." That was like the beginning of their show they did. And I was like, "That is amazing." And there's a little dance routine. But it's such a cool song, and again, quite an old song, but it just makes you smile every time you hear it.
It's just you know, it's just a really happy bouncy tune, isn't it? And then it's layered through with, you know, if you're lucky, really, really good memories. And then it keeps coming back. That's the thing about the Muppets. So that, you know, they do keep reinventing it, and you keep seeing the bits your favourites. It's clever.
It's just those inbuilt memories. It's like the pinball thing from Sesame Street as well.
Pointer Sisters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. I mean, I've got that. I play that, and again, that's just so much fun because it just takes you right back to that moment.
It's like psychedelia for 5-year-olds.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure they were, all those people making that were pretty straight back then. I'm sure.
Absolute heroes, or the whole of the Muppet people. Some of the other stuff on there. So Dorset is Beautiful. I know it's a very, very bizarre thing, but and again, the song doesn't really matter. It's the thread for me. And whenever we used to go on holiday, you'd be sat in the back of the car, and you drive down to like an aunt's down who'd moved away or something like that. Every time you crossed a county boundary, he would have the song for that county in his head, and he'd sing it. So you go to Dorset and sing Dorset is Beautiful. You go to Devon, he'd sing Devon, glorious Devon. If we came, is it East Sussex you are? So you come to Sussex, he'd sing Sussex by the Sea.
By the sea, yeah.
And he'd know all of these kind of. So everywhere you went, there was a song to go with the place or the action. So that's and again, I've done that with the girls, and so that's one of those. And him and Mum had a caravan in later life, and that was a really happy place for all of us. So that's in there. That's in there for as well. And they're all there's there's silly songs in there like Hole in the Ground, and there's the what's the one, Bring Me Sunshine by Willie Nelson. It's not Willie Nelson he liked, it's the
song.
No, it's Morecambe and Wise.
Morecambe and Wise, yeah.
And the Two Ronnies and all that kind of. All those are songs that remind me of that. And actually, people don't want to hear the.
That's the stuff that we used to watch. I used to watch the Two Ronnies quite a lot. Morecambe and Wise, not so much. I don't remember being as much of a fan of them, but Two Ronnies and all that sort of stuff. That was an amazing time for TV, wasn't it?
That clever wordplay in their songs and stuff is that's a big thing for me. Like interest in lyrics and stuff, and it does stem from watching stuff like that with Mum and Dad. But Mum used to work nights a lot, so that it was a kind of a particular thing that I do with Dad. So that's why all those things are in there. And then the last one. The kind of the outro from Captain Beaky, which is kind of the only sad bit in it as far as I'm concerned. Every time I've listened to it, I've had a little blub at that bit, and it's just because that was something he'd always put on in the car, and it was one of those things that by the age of 7 I probably knew all the words because we listened to story cassettes and stuff like that. So it's just a list, a bunch of memories, which hopefully has entertained a few people because it entertains me.
And how does it feel now, having spent sort of 6 months putting it together? And you said you listened to it before the show as well. What sort of feelings do you get now?
You know what? I wish I hadn't put that solid bond in your heart in. I wish I'd found something else for that. But everything else, I only put that in for the title, really. I quite like the record, but I don't like it that much. Everything else, I'm really happy with. And how did it make me feel listening to it today? Just made me smile, and I didn't cry at the last bit. So that's not. I'm not going to say it's a positive because there's absolutely nothing wrong with crying whenever you need to.
Yeah.
And I undoubtedly will cry next time I listen to it, and probably probably later on tonight as well. So I'm really pleased with it. It's daft. It's daft and it's meaningful, which is a lot like Dad.
It's a little bit like if you were to have got a photo book together of like photos from the years, things that you reminded him.
A memory book or just
but it's amazing that because you're into records and because you shared such a passion for music, that you're able to do it in that way.
You don't know how grateful I am for the chance to do it, because I wouldn't have done it otherwise. So that's just something you've provided.
Yeah.
So this isn't, this is you need to take some credit as well for the opportunities. Because I won't be the only person who's done something like that. You know, I might be one of the only people who've talked about it, but I won't be the only person who's made you a mix that is all memories and painful memories as well. But which they might not have the opportunity to do otherwise.
It's, you know, that's why we do the uplifting mix. And the reason I've got that as a mix project. When I first did it, I set it and I was like, oh, by this date. And then I was like, you know what, this doesn't need a thing. This can just be ongoing. So every new DJ I meet now, I will say to them, do you want to do a mix? And unless it's very close to 45 day, I'll say, do an uplifting mix. Because I know that person's going to go away. And if they do it, they're just going to listen to lots of records they love, lots of records that are going to make them happy. And it's also a moment in time. It's 45 minutes in time, isn't it? You know, you will remember not just the songs on there and listening to the songs. You've probably got memories of playing that when you did that mix, when you recorded the mix.
Yeah, so and it will also remind me of how I was feeling
at that time.
Yeah, so it's yeah, it's going to be something I'll refer back to a lot, I think, because it's.
And I guess being able to have that there and go on and see, because obviously, you know, I'm sure it never gets easy, but I'm sure things are probably a bit easier now than they were like a year ago.
Yeah.
So again, is that something that's good that you can see? Well, that's how I was feeling then. I've got to this stage now. I'm feeling like.
Well, I think that difference we talked about before about the fact that when the 2022 one, there was no words. It was just tunes, and that really surprised me. Really surprised me, because that's not the kind of stuff I would normally put together ever. You know, so I can see that journey. It's a journey, isn't it, between the two? And you know, if I come back, if I did another one in 5 years' time, or even in 6 months' time, it would be a different set of memories. But that's definitely that. When I was looking, you know, and what was I looking for? Really happy ones. You know, there's also nothing wrong with reflecting on, you know, more difficult memories you have with people. But that's a bank of really things that just will always make me smile about him.
Yeah, it's a great mix, and obviously when you sent it through, you know, it made me smile, and yeah, it meant a lot. The sort of sentiment behind it, the reason you'd done it, the records you'd chosen, the artwork, you know, all of it. It was brilliant.
Thank you.
So people can obviously listen to that on your Mixcloud, but it's also going to be part of a podcast. We'll do some edited bits from this show, and then we'll have that at the end as well, so people can listen to what we've been talking about, which will be good. Right. Moving on a little bit from that, you have done a little bit of streaming, not a huge amount, and we've had you on one of the shows I used to do, Coffee and Donuts. How did you find that aspect of live streaming and DJing?
I really enjoyed it, and because it was a bit like just entertaining yourself at home. Once a bit anti-techie me. It takes a little while to work stuff out. But once, not quite a Luddite, but you know, getting there. Once I had come to terms with how it was going to work, and I'd made it work, it was really nice. I quite liked it, and I will do more. It you know, it's finding the opportunities to do them. And I know
it's fun.
I could come in and do it, but it's quite nice to not have everything out all the time at home, frankly, which I could easily do. And I'm sure it's much, but it does. It extends the space that the record section of the house takes up.
Yeah.
But you know what? I proper enjoyed it, and I will do more. And I want to do more. And I'd love listening to them. I love engaging with them in that way as much as anything. I love listening to new music and other people's tunes, and it's just a great new way to do that. I feel like I did when I first discovered Spotify and stuff with it. It's like, and what's nicer is that it's not music that's been chosen to me by a machine. It's other people's musical taste.
It's that human touch, isn't it?
Like loads more new stuff that way.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about silly songs like Mana Mana and the Muppet Show. Like, would an AI curated mix of, say, funk and soul and hip hop or whatever ever drop something like that in. It would never happen. And that's the human element.
No.
The human element of like, right, I'm just going to play whatever I want. You know, no one's going to be expecting this song, you know, etc. But I also think it's a little bit like when we do our sets for 45 Day and also on streams and all the rest of it. It's curating an hour of music, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's really not, and it's also really good practice in putting some interesting stuff
Yeah.
together. And in concentrating enough over it, because you know if you're presenting to people, if you're putting yourself forward to do some entertaining, I think we said earlier on, you just want to do it to as best you can, and that's great for somebody who hasn't done loads and loads of this. It's a really good way to hone what you're doing and to make better choices, and to put stuff together in a neater way if you want. So so I'm enjoying it for all of those reasons.
Well, we'll definitely get you on some more live streams. But you've been doing a few little live events in terms of DJing at the moment.
The last bits and pieces. The guys over at Mark James out of Soul 45, as I said earlier, was very supportive, and I did a few of their record store days in the kind of in the breakfast slot, which were lovely. I've done the skate park at Southsea for one of their roller discos with Miss Funky Fox, who's based in Chichester. That was a love. Oh, we did a charity thing together, so that's how we met. And so she invited me. I did that last year, and that's coming up in September.
Nice.
I've did a boat party for a friend. I've got a wedding for some friends in the summer. I did our wedding, which was really nice. We've got coming to your festival in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Yeah,
I put on a festival in Westbourne here, and I've done that for the last couple of years, so that would be something. There'll be that one as well. So there's bits and pieces, and it's nice.
It's nice bringing people together, and you know, this weekend was an interesting one, as I said, because of the rain and things getting cancelled. But it was great just hanging out and talking about records. You know, we're all nerds at the end of the day, but talking about records and stuff. But it's again that little small talk at the beginning in terms of, oh, this is what I bought, whatever, and then it's just talking about bigger things, like we've been talking tonight. It's amazing the friendships that we've put together. We've all put, work in, obviously, of the last 3 years in terms of chatting on streams and messaging people and stuff. But it's amazing that we have such strong friendships when we all meet up now.
Yeah, it's great, and it's any way to, you get to a certain age and it becomes increasingly difficult to meet and
exactly,
new people. Personally, for me, it's not always something I found the easiest, meeting new people. It's taken me a long time. This has been a really good in for me to a new group.
It's again funny, isn't it? Because people think that musicians think that DJs are like, they're generally introverted extroverts, aren't they?
Yeah.
We're all quite, you still get a bit nervous going behind the decks. You're always anxious. I'm a lot more open now, I think, because of what we've been doing over the last 3 years. But before, I'd basically just stand behind the decks and talk to the other DJ. I'd very rarely go and make any sort of social contact with people there. But again,
the kind of the personality bit, the persona can be performative, but actually the interaction can be a lot more difficult.
Yeah,
I think that's true. I could definitely do that bit. It's like, now I have to be on.
Yeah.
Actually, when you're not on, it's not always quite as easy. But things like this that help massively.
Yeah, and it's going to be great. I mean, and
friends, whether they're new friends or really really old ones who kind of get you, the ones who kind of make this all very doable.
Yeah, and it's just fun, just putting ideas out there, and build it and they will come, sort of thing. Like I haven't run a festival, and it's not really a festival; it's a campsite, and we've got some cool music going on. But I was just like, right, I'm just going to invite some people and see what happens, and it's going to be great being together for a period of time, rather than like 5 minutes here or an hour there. And I think that's what you get from going to a festival or going to like an event, because it's that again, getting past the small talk, isn't it? Because a lot of people, we talk, how you doing? Yeah, I'm good, thanks, blah blah blah. But you don't really open up to a lot of people, whereas the community that we've built seems to be a lot easier to open up to.
And when you've got an opportunity to spend time doing that as well, it helps, doesn't it? Because you can still dip in and out of it, but you can still the relationships build, and talked about the trust of getting people trusting you to bring stuff, but actually bring music to their events and into their lives. Actually, it's that trust that builds up in these friendships and through these talks and through then meeting each other that make this even more valid and even more real.
It's amazing. It's going to be fun. I can't believe it's only a couple of weeks away. So you're coming down to play, so that's going to be great, and meet you in person, because we've missed each other a couple of times.
I think you did Overdraft a couple of years ago. So I did early doors, and then you did a bit later on.
That's right, because I think I was then going on to Brighton, and then I'm coming back down to Overdraft. But I think you were away, aren't you?
Yeah.
So we got the festival, so it's going to be cool. Right. So one of the things that we always do on Part of My Journey is a question that Mark Lancaster asked on the very first show in the comments. He said, what 3:45s lift your spirits? So that's led on to the uplifting mix, where I ask people to do 45 minutes of 45s, but I always ask my guests on this show. So you've got 3:45s, I believe.
Yeah, pull 3 out.
So if you want to talk about each one and tell me why you chose it, why it's a lift your spirits record.
First of all, I've got. Well, let's through the hole in the middle like a shit. So that's Freddie Scott. You Got What I Need.
Yeah.
And that's just a lovely. It's a very soulful, funky love song.
Amazing record.
And it's just, I just play it for Lisa every time, because it just makes me think of our relationship and how she's exceptionally healing for me. It's a love record, and every time I get a chance to play it, when she's in the room or when she's at somewhere I'm playing, I will, and I shall undoubtedly play it at the festival for that reason.
Definitely. I mean, if I'm thinking of the right version, I think it's quite well loved in the hip hop community as well, isn't it? Because of the break.
Okay, I will take your word for that.
I may be thinking. I think I'm thinking of the right song. But yeah, I'll have a listen later and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But yes,
so that's one. That always just is heartwarming for me. Another one is a classic, which I'm sure people. I don't know. Maybe people love it or loathe it. I'm not sure. It's Al Wilson, The Snake.
Oh yes, I love it.
Which I remember whenever that came on the radio pre-streaming, and when I wasn't buying records, I always felt like I'd been blessed that day, because I just love it. It's got everything I like. It's got an absolutely amazing brass section. Tells us, it's a ballad. It tells a story. It's daft. It's a very silly story. It's unbelievably soulful and funky. It's just there's nothing I don't like about it. I accept it's a bit cheesy, but it's just brilliant. And I could listen to it 100 times and never be bored of listening to it. It's just great. So that always makes me smile. Always makes me feel like I've had if it comes on, if I put it on, great, I've chosen it. If I hear it and somebody else has put it on, that's even better for me. That's just like, so, oh, what a glorious day to have heard that. Yeah. Criztoz used to play it about twice a year on his Funk and Soul show, and it always used to just feel like, oh, it's been a great Saturday because that's come on.
I think it's on his. Is it on his first? He's done a couple of compilations, hasn't he? Funk and Soul, and I think it's on one of those, isn't it?
It may well, but yeah, I did just love it.
Okay, I was right.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Freddie Scott was sampled by Biz Markie.
Okay.
So, I will send you a link. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, do.
I'll send you a link. Yeah.
Again, see something new. A swap, a non-physical swap.
A non-physical swap of music.
Like that. And the last one is a bit more modern. Is a thing called New Street Adventure, Big AC by the New Street Adventure, who were like a neo soul band from the last, I don't know. So they were about in the mid 2020s, I suppose they were out. Anyway, so this song, 2014, according to the back. Anyway, so this came up in my Spotify playlist years and years ago, just as I wasn't in a great place at the time. And I wasn't buying music. But suddenly this song, and it's so cheerful. and I really liked it. But I couldn't. For the life of me, I didn't think there'd be anybody else who liked it. I was right back in that being a teenager again, and not having any confidence in what I liked. And I remember I had it on in the car, and I was listening to it over and over again. And I went to see my mum and dad, and then I was in Bristol, and I drove up Park Street. Don't know where I was going, but I was going up Park Street.
Yeah.
And I was playing it really loud, and I had a midlife crisis Jag, right? But it wasn't a Jag. It was a Mondeo with a Jaguar top, whatever that car was. Yeah, okay. And it was awful. And two people were out washing their car, and I pulled up along, and they could clearly hear it in the distance. And by the time I got past them, they were dancing to it.
Right. Okay.
Not like taking a piss.
Yeah.
They were loving it. And I was just like, oh, this is not just me who likes it. There's other people who like the same stuff as me still. And that's for one reason. And then also, it's one of the first songs I then started playing to Lisa when we met and got together. So she really got into it, and we've been to see them, and it's and it references lots of soul stuff. It's very soulful, but yeah, I don't know. It's just like music came back into my life with it a bit, as did love. So that was just nice. So
again, that's the power. Yeah, again, the power of music.
That is called the bit someone's asked DJ Panda. The Big AC New Street Adventure. Hmm? Oh yeah, they're not together anymore, but they were a great band. They were really good.
Okay. All right, thank you. Right, we are getting close to the end of the show. We've got one more section, and then we're going to raid. I think if he's still alive, we're going to go and raid Don Champ Sound. But again, I can't remember how this started. I think it was a random thing with Danny Bounce, because I don't think we had sweets on the first show. If Double P's here, he might remember, but I don't think we had sweets. I think what it was is Danny Bounce put a comment in the chat with the word NICE, and it was like, I like nice biscuits, but my wife calls them niece or something like that. Which is it, nice or niece? And I think from there we then started talking about sweets and stuff. So we've had a lot of interesting sweets on the show. I've unfortunately eaten the ones I was going to show with Zizi earlier, but we both love Percy Pigs. I don't know if you're a Percy Pig fan. The fizzy chew ones that they do, they're quite interesting. But yeah, anyway, they're gone. What have you got? I assume you haven't eaten.
I'm really boring. Well, not boring. I racked my brains as to what my favorite sweet or chocolate was.
Yeah,
and that took about 2 seconds because it's Kit Kats.
Now original.
Yeah, I don't like chunky. The normal Kit Kat, to my mind, I'm going to chocolate rant, so be prepared. It's just perfect. It's better than it doesn't feel like a chocolate biscuit. So it always feels like it's proper chocolate to me, in my opinion. It always feels like it's a proper chocolate bar. It feels like a treat. If I go into a shop and I thought, I fancy some chocolate, it's a Kit Kat I'll buy. So I just really like Kit Kat.
Did you catch that show where I can't no idea what it was called, but it was basically they got the equivalent of like Michelin chef, Michelin starred chef.
Remade, I saw that. Yeah. They
remade the Kit Kat. Yeah, and the most interesting thing that came out of that is that the sort of creamy sort of stuff in between the wafers is basically smashed up Kit Kats that are a bit wonky or didn't.
Oh, that I did not know.
I think I'm right in saying that. I might have got that wrong, but I think that's what they said, because they were like, well, they took it apart and the layers, and they're like, we couldn't work out what this layer was. And I think they went to the factory and they're like, yeah, it's basically all the ones that
broken Kit Kats,
broken or discarded. They just scrunch them all together and then make this sort of paste for the middle. So
I would never want a Kit Kat Easter egg because I don't like the chocolate by itself, but it just works brilliantly as a thing.
It is good. It is good.
I miss the tin foil that used to break and
all
the performativeness of eating a Kit Kat, but
they are good. They are good. Is that the only one, or have you got any others?
No, because if I had a cream egg, I have to eat it in one big bite, and then you won't be able to hear what I say anymore.
Yeah, cream eggs are good. Cream eggs are good. Right. I'm just going to double check that he's still live. I think he probably is. And then we will go and see Don Champ Sound. Yes, there he is. Right. I'm going to set the raid, and so we got about 2 minutes to talk at the end of the show. Ed, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been amazing talking to you. Thank you for being so open, honest, frank. Really interesting conversation, and not the easiest thing to do. In a public-ish format, but thank you so much. And we got a comment from Kleiner Fox. So proud of you, Ed, for talking about this. You always could. It's simply a question of finding the right people to talk to, just like this evening.
Thank you, buddy.
That means a lot. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in person.
Yeah, really, really cannot wait.
In a couple of weeks' time. That's going to be fun. Hopefully the weather will be okay. I think there's meant to be a heat wave coming. Hopefully, fingers crossed. It's a beautiful spot. It'll be lovely to hang out and obviously hear some of these music. And yeah, it's going to be great. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. We had DJ Panda, with Twitch Witch, we had Double P, we had Scotty earlier on, and a few others. So thank you, everyone. It's been a great show, and you can watch it back on YouTube probably tomorrow and on Mixcloud as well. And as I said, we'll do a podcast with your mix as well.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Right. Take it easy, Ed, and we'll speak soon. If you hang on there for a minute, we'll have a chat after the raid's gone.
Lovely.